CBS Sports HQ is built by the Home Depot. How doers get more done. Here with former All-American tight end Adam Breneman. And you want to talk about absolute chaos here. Oklahoma upsets Alabama, giving the Crimson Tide a third conference loss. Is Alabama eliminated, Adam?
I mean, the only shot Alabama gets in now is if the ACC is a one-bid conference, and then it's going to be Alabama or South Carolina. Which one do you put in based on the resume? To me, the committee has shown us that when you have a bad loss at the end of the season, a 21-point loss against Oklahoma, that gets you out of the playoff. I have a hard time seeing a path for how Alabama gets in unless some crazy things start to happen.
Welcome in 24/7 Sports college football analyst Brad Crawford as well here. And look, Brad, I think Alabama's eliminated. What say you?
Yeah, Alabama does have the head-to-head win back in October over South Carolina. But the Gamecocks, if they beat Clemson next week, will be winners of 6 straight games. And, oh, by the way, South Carolina beat the same Oklahoma team in Norman 35-9 a few weeks ago. So while head-to-head does matter to the committee, it's only going to mean anything if the committee sees Bama and South Carolina as comparable teams. So if a 9-3 SEC team does get in that last bid, it probably is South Carolina over the Crimson Tide. Alabama could not afford to take a third loss during these final 2 weeks. And Jalen Milroe, man, picked a bad time to have his worst game of the season.
So, Brad, are you telling me that a 3-loss SEC team is getting in over a 2-loss, let's say, ACC team?
No, I'm not saying that quite yet. 3 losses was kind of the deal breaker for me the last month. You know, I've been seeing it. I thought maybe the SEC championship game runner-up, maybe a Georgia with 3 losses at 10-3 overall would probably get in. But if you don't even get to Atlanta and you have 3 regular season losses like Alabama now has, that's troubling. And Ole Miss today too. So Bama and Ole Miss did not afford to lose a third game, and both of them did it here in Week 13.
And I think it's pretty clear how good the wins on South Carolina's resume are right now, despite the 3 losses. We're talking a win against Clemson, a win against Missouri, a win by 21 against Vanderbilt, a win by 24 against A&M, 25 against Kentucky. Those are solid wins, and despite the head-to-head matchup where South Carolina lost to Alabama, I see South Carolina deserving a spot over Alabama. But to your point, Hakeem, the 2-loss ACC champ, we could see the Big 12 champ, or the Big 12 team that loses in the conference title game miss the playoff and lose that spot to a 3-loss South Carolina team.
Look, I'm not on the committee, but I do not want to see a 3-loss team in the playoff.
You're anti-3-loss.
I'm anti-3-loss because look, until we expand this to 16 teams, we just went to 12. There was never, ever a 2-loss team in the 4-team playoff. We can't just be going from 1 loss to 3 loss in the first year of the 12-team playoff. And I'm sure maybe a committee member will say something to that effect. I don't know. I'm not in that room. I'm in this room here. And my question now becomes, this kind of feels obvious. I kind of agree with Curt Cignetti because he was asked if the Hoosiers should be in the playoff. Well, following everything that happened today, he has an absolute point. He said at the time, is that a serious question? I'm not even going to answer that one. The answer is so obvious. Brad, do you agree? Is it so obvious right now?
Oh, Indiana's in the playoff. And I know today's game was lopsided, but let's be honest, 2 special teams plays is what determined that game. It wasn't quite the blowout as the final score looked. And if Indiana handles business against Purdue next week, finishes 11-1, SEC chaos today, Hakeem, has really benefited the Hoosiers. I'm with Curt on this one. 11-1 finish. Indiana's going to be in and probably get a first-round home game.
And Ohio State proved in this game they're one of the top 2 teams in the country.
Yeah.
I think they may have the best roster in college football when you look at pure talent. And the barometer for Indiana making the playoff is not whether they can beat the number 1 or 2 team in the country. It's whether they're one of the top 12 teams. And Indiana, by how they've dominated all season long, clearly is. I think Brad makes a great point. Without those special teams errors from Indiana, this is a completely different ball game. They gave up 14 points off those special teams mistakes. I don't think this score was indicative at the final moment of what the game actually was, especially in the first half. And you think about Ryan Day at the end of that game scoring the touchdown to make it a 3-score game. Yep. And I mean, I love that move. If Curt Cignetti, if you're going to talk that talk, you can't be mad when Ryan Day runs up the score on you. But Indiana is in the playoff, and let me tell you, they deserve to be in the playoff. And it'll be on the edge of whether they are a home playoff game or on the road.
Leave no doubt. 4 teams from the Big Ten on pace to make the college football playoff in Oregon, Ohio State, Penn State, and Indiana. In the Big 12, Colorado's CFP hopes take a major hit, losing to Kansas as they give up 520 total yards of offense to Devin Neal and the Jayhawks. The Buffs are going to need some help to make the Big 12 championship, and I'm going to give you the scenario here. There's a four-way tie in the Big 12 at 7-2 between Arizona State, BYU, Colorado, and Iowa State. If they all went out, it would be Arizona State, the Fighting Dillinghams, which is incredible, against Iowa State, that we thought they were left for dead for the Big 12 championship. Brad, what is the CFP committee going to do with the Big 12 come Tuesday?
I'll tell you what, man, no team in the Big 12 wanted to control its own destiny during November. All these losses by BYU back-to-back weeks. Colorado stubbed its toe against the same Kansas team that beat the Cougars last week. And now Kenny Dillingham, he's kind of sliding up into that catbird seat in the Big 12 with Arizona State. I think the Big 12 is going to get in the playoff. I think if Army would have had a more respectable showing, maybe we would have seen two G5 teams get in and the Big 12 champ not get in. But we're going to see a multi-loss Big 12 champion team get in the playoff as the 11 or 12 seed. I thought Colorado going into Saturday was the most dangerous team. Now, without a doubt, it's Arizona State.
Yeah, I agree with Brad. I mean, Arizona State, with what they've done running the football with Cam Scadaboo, combine that with Sam Leavitt, their freshman quarterback, and how he's playing, Arizona State's the most dangerous team in the Big 12 right now. Who would have thought that? Looking at Arizona State last season, what Kenny Dillingham has done in just a short period of time in Tempe. He has rallied the Valley there and acquired talent and got that place buzzing. Great atmosphere today at home. I think really that Arizona State defense, when they can stop the run and get the ball back for their offense, and then Arizona State can play that time of possession game where Cam Scadaboo is chewing up yards and chewing up clock. The other part of Arizona State's offense I love is how they use Cam Scadaboo in different ways around the field. They really use him more like a Christian McCaffrey type all over the field, a Deebo Samuel type who's a gadget type player. And when he has a big game like he did today against BYU, Arizona State is the best team in the Big 12.
Yeah, we saw what the committee thinks of the Big 12 because last week they dropped BYU 8 spots in the rankings. Perhaps we see Arizona State just sky up the rankings as you fear the fork. The fourth set of CFP rankings released on Tuesday coming up here. Let's look ahead, Brad. Who's in your top 12? Give us the preview.
Yeah, right now Tennessee was a big winner, moves up to number 9 in my rankings. Ole Miss is falling out. Bama as the 12 seed. They might be on that 12 line, but even as a 12 seed came, that means they're likely out because 3 losses, like I said, there's no room to move up for the Crimson Tide, even if they beat Auburn next week. So possible first-round games, Arizona as the Big 12 champion, Arizona State at Oregon first round. Tough game for Oregon. Now my runner-up in the Big 10 if Ohio State gets revenge. Tennessee at Penn State, great 9-8 game. SMU, Texas, and then Indiana, Notre Dame. So I do think Indiana has a chance at getting a first-round home game, but Notre Dame, man, they're one of the best teams in the country that no one's talking about right now. They've blown out Navy, blown out Army, have not lost since that upset setback against NIU in September. So Notre Dame's a team right now that I think is very undervalued from a lot of us national guys.
Yeah, we've been saying, though, Brad, here on this program for the last month, no one wants to face Notre Dame right now. I don't want to face them in a first-round playoff because they're going to just absolutely dominate you. Did you see anything that stood out there on Brad's projected bracket?
I saw the Tennessee-Penn State playoff game in Happy Valley. I'll tell you right now, you won't be able to get a hotel room in Happy Valley. You won't be able to get there. That place will be absolutely buzzing for a first-round playoff game. And, I mean, probably the biggest game in Penn State history in that one. Penn State's been one of those teams that's been really on the bubble of that 4-team playoff for a long time now, and they've been one of the biggest beneficiaries, I think, this season of an expanded playoff. It's going to be a great matchup. Whoever said that the 12-team playoff would make every regular season game matter less, well, how about this weekend? Every game mattered more because of this 12-team playoff, and we're going to get some great first-round matchups because of it.
My big takeaway there from Brad's projected bracket, Ohio State, number 1. That means they beat Oregon in the Big 10 title game. All righty, let's go. Brad Crawford, Adam Breneman here on CBS Sports HQ. And speaking of those Buckeyes, the favorite to win the national championship, 8 titles in school history. Their last was in 2014, the first year of the college football playoff, when they beat Oregon. If Ohio State beats Michigan next week, it'll be the Buckeyes and Ducks in the Big 10 championship on December 7th, a game you can see on CBS.